Good morning and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video is another session, a recap of our AD&D First Edition Greyhawk campaign. So if you've been following along, you'll know that this is actually week 21 of our play session. So we're very close to probably around 72 hours of actual gameplay, and really excited about how well this campaign has been going. We're slowly encroaching upon that 6 month mark. That is every single week we've played without any breaks. Once in a while we've shifted. I think twice we shifted from a Monday game to a Tuesday, and that may occur coming up as well. So during this session here, we semi-introduced a new player to our group. So Amanda is going to come in and join us in this group of 9 players, and she is porting over her D&D character that I had the pleasure of playing with. Both her and this character was in our party. That game was being run by Ivan, who plays Cedric in my game here. So she and I and Cedric have been playing previous to this campaign, 6 months previous to this here. So we've been playing with each other for quite a bit of time. And so I'm really excited about bringing her into the fold for 2 reasons. I mean, first of all, she's an excellent player, and really like her character. Even though her character might shift from being a male character fighter to a female, and I'm hoping that she chooses to do that. But if she doesn't, that's fine as well. And she just has to port that character over from D&D BX to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons First Edition, which is a fairly easy transition as well. So I'm excited about that. She's a great player. She's bringing a character that she's already spent 6 months developing, and it'll be a good fit for the party that we have going forward. The second reason, obviously, is that we do have a group of 9 players plus myself, so 10 players, and 9 of us are male, and just one of our players is female all of this time. And Sparrow, who's played by Leah, has been doing an awesome job. Being that sole female in such a large group, I mean, she's really comporting herself, well. She's a voice in the group. Her character is oftentimes a focus of the skills as a druid that she brings to the table as well. So really, really a great experience having an experienced player such as she is in the group, and bringing Amanda on will just add to that, and you know mix it up a little bit, add that extra component, get it so not so lopsided, and you know not not pandering in any way or such. But I do believe that having female players in a large group does help change kind of the dynamic of the whole gameplay as well. They bring something different to the table, and in most cases, at least in my experience, it's always been a positive difference that they bring to the table. They just have a different way of looking at how to play characters and such. So I'm really excited about it. Uh, I've been playing a very, very long time with female players, both on tabletop RPGs and in computer RPGs, especially MMOs. It's just been 25 years of experience having females bring their perspective to gaming to the table or the screen that I've been playing on. So really excited about this. Moving forward, the party now is going into the lair of Aslixis. Trying to pronounce draconic words is kind of hard for me, and that's just a made up thing. But I figured it sounded pretty cool. So yes, they're delving for their first time into the Copper Dragon skin mini adventure that they originally started becoming interested about several weeks ago. And so that became the focus of this particular series now of sessions that we're going to have because, as you can see, this is part one. And let me jump right into it now. So let's see. So, season two, session six, and I'm doing this little display differently than in previous because it's just hard for me to remember all of the actions. So I just started taking better notes and then typing them up so I can go through them. So prior to their departure from Whitehurst, the adventure party received a message that Innes, who is our human fighter, would not be continuing his adventures with them for the foreseeable future. So Gene is the player of Innes, and he's been under the weather for quite some time, and it just seemed like the best move now for both him and our group, for that consistency to have him step aside and basically bench himself until we see where things lay. So I wish him the best, and hopefully he gets better soon, and we can fold him back into this campaign at a later date where it'll make sense for that to occur. So, however, upon hearing the news of this, Grum and Gruff, the two dwarven henchmen that are attached to the party, told the party that they knew of a warrior who would be up for their cause. And this is how we brought in Amanda's character, Vaughn. Vaughn is of Keeland. She is the daughter of a petty noble of Keeland, so that's kind of her background, and that's the background that she brought over from the other campaigns that Ivan was running. So we kind of kept that character intact. That way, it's familiar for both myself and for her to just transition right into this campaign with her character. Her character's coming in as a 4th level fighter, which was roughly the same level that she was previously as well. The party set out and traveled to Woodsend, a hamlet, which is a settlement nearest to the reported location of the Copper Dragon's lair. Once they arrived at the hamlet, it took them about a day and a half or so to make that travel. They met in a tavern, Magdalene Tollbridge, and because the players kind of brought it up, like what they were looking for, that triggered this exchange, and she retold a tale from her younger days, so about 25 years ago, of the hero Rogan having passed through this hamlet on his way to and later from the lair of Aslixis. So he came to the village, met with some of the people, went off towards the dragon's lair, and then he returned. The dragon was known to this small hamlet, a protector of sorts, and in exchange the villagers provided the dragon with the fruits of their harvest and the copper coins from their trade. It was about 25 years ago, and some form of darkness had befallen the young copper dragon, Aslixis. It was believed that a flight of young predatory dragons had moved in on her lair. They had battled for nearly a fortnight, and that is when Lord Rogan had arrived. So this is kind of her retelling that they believe some kind of dragons had come in to raid her lair, and this fight was on and off over the span of about 10 days or so. Um, on the 11th day, I think I wrote here, on the 11th day, that's when Rogan had arrived, or on the 10th day, he arrived, and on the 11th day, he departed out to go there, and he returned roughly 3 days later. 3 days later, Rogan returned, battered and scorched with the signs of acid across his shield and armor. Several of his henchmen were missing, and those that had returned had a cart loaded with the skins of both the copper dragon and some other type of reptilian, a dark charcoal colored scaly skin. The Lord seemed to be distraught and only spoke once of the fall of Escalus, but he managed to kill one of the beasts that slew her. Other than the skins, it appeared that nothing else had been taken from the lair, but none of the menfolk of the town would tread near the former lair. Lord Rogan never said how many foes he had faced, how many there were that were had slain the dragon, and he had never returned to this town either. So he, distraught over the loss of the copper dragon, she assumed, and he traveled away never to be seen again. And then she finished up with, so we stay away from the Dragon's Teeth Vale because of the unknown and the silence that befalls the wooded vale from time to time. Hunters and adventurers have gone in never to return or be seen again elsewhere. Now, once the party had arrived there, not all of the members actually, heard this story firsthand. Mirador, the cleric of Farlagen, actually traveled to the church of Farlagen that was here in this small hamlet, and he stopped in and met with the cleric Alistar Kendrit, who was a 5th level cleric, so not high enough level to actually train Mirador, because Mirador is currently 4th level, and so not enough of a range difference, but he certainly made himself available for this small church here to assist in any ceremonies or any healing or anything that needed to be done. Meanwhile, trying to gather any information, but the cleric Alistar was not old enough to remember the passing of Rogan through this area, and so he wasn't able to help out. Mirador then traveled to the tavern to join with the rest of the party for a meal, and that's when he was brought up to speed with the story. Amalric, the fighter magic user elf, began to memorize the locate object spell for the next day to use on the dragon scale shield that they had acquired from the hobgoblin chieftain that they killed several sessions ago. And his plan was that once they got in the general vicinity of where they believed the lair was, he was going to cast the spell on the known object of the black scales of the shield that they have, and in the hopes that there might be other scales that had been shaken off during the battle, or located in some lair. And as long as because of his level, as long as they were within 90 yards in the wilderness, he would get kind of a direction sense of where it is. So Mirador, the cleric, prepared an augury spell to predict the odds when and if they encountered any serious, challenge that they were going to face. Cedric used his familiar to scout out ahead and look for signs of a cave or other potential entrance to the lair. And so he has his raven Corvo flying around, a crow Corvo flying around in a 120-yard circle around them as they're moving forward, just constantly looking for looking for some sign of either a battle or a cave entrance. That's when Sparrow thought, and this was a collective thought that some others said, you know what, if we're looking to see where this battle was, if it was, a dragon, several dragons, using their acid breath and such, then there should be signs of the growth that is less than 25 years old, intermixed with the other, heavy forested areas and such. And so that's what they told Cedric to have, to look for as he's looking through the eyes of his familiar. And eventually they did pick up a, a series of patches here and there of fresher vegetation, or vegetation, trees not as large as some of the surrounding trees around them. And so as they went and investigated several of these patches, one of them they came across, um, actually contained several, very interesting artifacts of a previous battle. So this was on their second day of the search, and they discovered the remains of a dragon and a Dracolisc. So now they finally understand what it is that they're searching for. And the reason why they knew it was a Dracolisc is, even though it was just the bones remains of a second dragon, or dragon kind, it was smaller than the copper dragon, and it had, clearly had six legs. And so now they were aware that, this is in fact a Dracolisc. The other thing that tipped them off was that, nearby they found the remains of three human warriors, weathered and damaged from time in the elements. So these were the petrified remains of, of the human warriors, most likely the henchmen that, Rogan had brought with him. And so now they kind of have an idea of what is, what took place in this small field, and they discovered through the use of the familiar where the cave entrance was, or at least they're assuming that was the cave entrance that, the dragon's lair would be found. So the preparations. So Vaughn was going to remain with the horses, and this is, out of game context. So this is meta. She didn't have her character, ported over yet, so she still had to work on that, and she was really an impromptu, addition. She was just going to come in on Monday just to listen in. And then we decided, why don't you just come in and join in? We'll have you follow along with the party, but she doesn't actually enter into the dungeon itself. So, she will get credit for her play session time, and experience for that, but nothing that followed. The rest of the party sets up their marching order, and so they put a fighter and dwarves in particular, and the two thieves. So, Gruff is a thief, and Crandon is a thief. So they wanted their thieves on the point, so that they can, search for traps and other such stuff, things. The two dwarves up front, that way that they can check, inclines and secret doors, and those, similar very dwarven things. Plus they have infravision, so they can see in the dark better than, the others. They're followed up, so they're in a formation of three. So one on the point, the fighter Grum, and then the two thieves immediately following him. Then the next group of four are paired up like the pips on a four side of, a D6. So they're lined up, Amalric and Breeze. So we have our fighter magic user and our cleric, then our druid and our half orc fighter Almuk, who's a henchman in this case. So, and then finally, the rear is brought up by Candrius the Paladin, Mirador the Cleric, Cedric the Magic User, and Angus the Fighter. So this party is moving forward the into the entryway of the cavern system. They're not quite sure how much is in there. Actually, my players don't know this yet, so they're going to see that when they see this here. So they discovered a copper mine or vein as they enter in, and it's often like a little nook. And so, now my players can see that there's roughly 60 million copper pieces worth of ore there. It's going to take quite some time to extract it all, and and we'll see how they kind of set up that system. So, little spoiler alert for them. uh, the encounter. So while they were actually looking over that section, they were paying attention to a split in the hallway and looking to see, well, what else lies ahead. And they heard movement, and they just caught a glimpse of some large creature turning a corner and walking away from them. So it didn't detect them, but they certainly detected it. And so they went into pursuit. And it turned out that it was an Umber Hulk that they kind of charged up on. And it turned out to be simultaneous initiative, which is kind of a rare thing. It requires Breeze to roll his minimum. All right, so his minimum roll is a 4 for initiative, and so it ended up being simultaneous initiative. And the Umber Hulk's gaze and the archer's combat actually took place simultaneously and first. So the Umber Hulk used its confusing gaze on the players near minimum, so it was only 4 rounds it was going to affect them. But Cedric, Candrius, Breeze, Mirador, Gruff, and Almuk were all confused. So it basically prevented them from doing any action that particular round. Angus, Breeze, and Amalric hits, each attacked with their bows and hit at the same time that the gaze struck. And they did a considerable amount of damage in that first round. I mean, they did close to 40 or a little over 40 points of damage to this creature in that very first volley of arrow attacks. Sparrow, the druid, cast a summon insect spell, which was really, really fortunate because it's not so much that it did 2 points of damage, for the next 4 rounds leading up to it, but the fact is that it ended up distracting the Umber Hulk, so it wasn't going to get any, potential follow-up attack following the next round. It utilized its gaze the first round. It's going to be hindered or completely distracted in the second round. Grum hit with his battle axe he did quite a serious hit. He did 10 points of damage to it, and once again harmed it pretty well. So now the Umber Hulk is actually very near death. And at the start of the second round, although Breeze was confused, his shot was still a what I call a dirty critical. It was still a 20, with the minuses involved, but it wasn't a natural 20. And so, but it was enough damage to actually kill the Umber Hulk. As the party began to regain their state of mind, Sparrow notices the remains of Ankhead, which are large insects, which he knows is a favored food item of Umber Hulk. And the party suspects that the Umber Hulk was hunting That's what the umber hook was hunting, these insects that it preys upon. And that's where our session pretty much ended. Let's switch views here real quick. So they ended at that point. Fortunately, no one was injured, so no healing had to be done. We were around the 3.5 hour mark, at that point, and so we started wrapping it up. I am going to, while I have you here, I'm going to switch here and just going to change views once again and bring up roll 20. So here is the new makeup of the party. Alphabetical order. So we have Amalric, Angus, Breeze, Cedric, Candrius, Crandon, Mirador, Sparrow, and now Vaughn. I'm not quite sure of Vaughn's hit points. I just put in 30-30 for now until we figure it out. And here, if you use roll 20 at all, you can actually see um, where this session began and what some of them are doing. Let's see, where is that? It begins right here, where Cedric says, add Amanda, and he's talking about setting it up. And where's the first thing? So here's the session beginning. So this is where Mirador was checking his augury spell to see how it would actually how we could utilize it. Realize that the locate object would be better, and that's why Amalric decided to learn that spell for the next day. And we have some of the interactions, and we spend most of the time talking on Discord, and so this is where they're actually doing their roles. Um, Sparrow did a non-weapon proficiency check here for alertness, and just going through, I mean, that's the one thing I really like about Roll20 is that you can upload the spell effects and such, and it gives me a chance to actually double check and look to see how the spell is being used and see the effects and such. Because I'm not a walking encyclopedia, I don't have every spell memorized, and it makes it easier for the players as well to bring up things and put it up there, and we spend a little time taking a look at it, and then we roll right back into the action. So as you can see, this is all just that one encounter, uh, pretty much. So we'll go back here, and so once again, it was another really successful session, and I'm going to wrap up this video now by just thanking everybody for popping in. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the comments section. I am actually going to be in the process of switching computers, so we'll see. Hopefully, the new one I can run everything the same way. In the process of transferring all the files and everything to a portable drive and then transfer them to the new computer. And we should be back up and running sometime this weekend. So you'll have a great weekend. Enjoy your holiday, and I will see you probably by Sunday or Monday latest. Have a great weekend. Take care.